Good evening. Hope everybody is well. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. I've had to rejig all my setup here just for this for tonight. So thank you very much for tuning in. I've also been playing around with the microphone, guys, so hopefully the sound is a little bit better quality. Please let me know before we go much further, of course, if it is okay, and providing it's fine, we will plod on. Evening, bud. Tom's Backhouse has just joined us. Thank you very much for tuning in, Tom. Do appreciate it. Jono's just joined us, and we've got David Hills over on YouTube as well. So thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Sounds okay. Good. I found it was a little bit echoey before, so hopefully there's a little bit more bass to it and a little bit less echo. Apologies about the light and the big glare, but I've had to really pull this light over, which is what this big glare is that you can see here. So, a lot of people have asked me about Airbrush. Ed Harler, hello, all sounds good as well. And the Big Dog 6, Ollie! I hope everybody is well. So, a lot of people have asked me about airbrushing, and Deacon, one of my Patreons, was struggling with airbrushing a little bit. And I learned purely by trial and error, and it was not easy. It wasn't. So, I figured I'd do some painting tonight in general that I was going to be doing anyway, but I've picked out specific things that I am going to be airbrushing. So I'm going to be mostly airbrushing tonight, very little brushwork, if any. And I thought I'd start by showing you actually how to build an airbrush and put it back together, pull it apart and clean it, as well as show you my compressor and my cables and everything that I've got here. Now, of course, my airbrush is very well used. This is a 15 quid cheapo from Amazon. 200 quid for an Iwata or a Badger. What's that? This is 15 quid from eBay. That's it. So it is a little bit dirty. It does get a little bit paint on the inside and stuff. Try and keep on top of it. I mean, I've scrubbed this before tonight, obviously. But between every single use, clean this out religiously. Do not do what I do. Leave some white in it, put it down, pack some stuff up, and go away for the weekend. Leaving paint in the bottom of this destroys it. And I don't know where I've actually put the destroyed one. You don't want to destroy it, right? Even though this is only 15 quid. So this is the main body of the airbrush itself, and there's lots and lots of different components. There is lots of small components. I would recommend, if you are going to be airbrushing, buy spare needles from eBay and buy spare nozzles. I've got a 2mm nozzle in there. Don't lose it. It's hard to find. Yeah. So this is the main body of the airbrush itself. Of course, your needle tip goes in here, and then you've got two nozzles on the front, and then you've got the trigger mechanism which goes in here, which you can pull in and out depending on how much paint or how far back, how much leverage you want on your trigger. Of course, the further you pull your trigger back, the more paint you get. Can recommend the harder Steenbeck Ultra, as it is free floating tips, so easy to put together and clean. Dave, if you wouldn't mind, will you drop a link for that in YouTube, please, and I will copy and paste that to the guys on Twitch, and I'll actually have a look at that myself a little bit later. So this is the main body of the airbrush itself, and to put it together, this bit is actually in 3 parts. So this is the part of the mechanism which, triggers the back and forth action. You then want the spring, which will keep it tight, of course. And then this is the bit that essentially holds this piece central and screws into this body here. And of course, the further in you screw it, the less you can pull back on the lever when it is in there. So I want to go about halfway in, just so that we're kind of average on all of it. To add to that, you can see here that piece now pulls back and forth because of the spring. You want the lever to go in the center. So this is the lever, and there's a little gap in the middle of it there that you can see, and the needle will go through that. I've just got 2 cheap Amazon ones. Don't think I could spend 100 quid plus for an airbrush. Me neither, Tom. This is about the 3rd or 4th 15 quid one I've had in 3 years of airbrushing. So there you go. That just goes to show, doesn't it? So you have to kind of pull that back and then drop that into there. It is a little bit awkward because obviously it does flow back and forth, but there you go. That gives you your action. And just to show you, the further you screw that in, 1 second, that's not supposed to happen. When the needle is in, it won't actually give you as much action to pump back and forth. So we'll just get that back in there. It is quite awkward again because obviously you've got to get that pin. There you go, straight down the middle. So we'll work on this end now. So the first thing to do is this. If you can even see that on camera. Now obviously I've got sausage fingers, that is minute. And this is the root of all problems with airbrushing. Now you probably can't see it, but I can see a hole straight through that. I can see like through the other side. Yeah, that's actually still slightly blocked because I've just cleaned it earlier. Now, I always keep a spare needle to hand, right? And the reason I keep a spare needle to hand is one that I'm not using, is because occasionally I need to try and force the little bit of paint that's stuck in there out. There's a number of things that you can do to help with this as well, and I'm going to show you some other tools which will also help with the job. You can probably see there actually there's some green just coming up. The sound is going. In what way? So you can see there that I am actually pushing quite a lot of green out. And the reason that there's green coming out is because that was the last colour I used. And despite cleaning your airbrush or thinking that you've cleaned it, a lot of the time you haven't. So I'm just essentially re-cleaning this before I start airbrushing again. Clean it out after every use. And I would recommend at minimum cleaning your nozzles and your tips and your needle before you start using as well. Just to make sure that everything is clear. So there, actually, like I said, I cleaned this before after I used it earlier, and then before I've come on stream, I've actually tried to clean it as well, and still missed some. So it just goes to show, if you do not clean this nozzle out, honestly, it will cause you so many problems down the line. Not just you, that sounds broken. Is that better, guys? I don't know what was going on with that. I was using some new software there for the cable. I'm really sorry about that. What I was saying was that even if you think you've cleaned this needle out, the nozzle out, it probably hasn't. So I cleaned this out after I used it before. And I'm cleaning it out again. And there's still crap coming out of it. So I just use an old needle to work it out. But on top of that, a couple of tools which I swear by are these. These are about £3 or £4 on eBay or Amazon. They're like pipe cleaners, but they're like wire brushes. So I'm just gonna jam the small one in the end of that and just give it a twirl, and it really helps work loose any crap or paint that's still in there. There we go, most of that's now come out. When Ollie first started airbrushing, he had a right nightmare. He was cleaning it religiously and he was really struggling, and it just kept spitting and not flowing properly when he was trying to spray with it. And I says, give it a year, and you know what? I spent about 15 minutes and there was a teeny tiny bit of paint stuck in this nozzle. If you don't want to spend all this time cleaning this nozzle out, then you can just literally buy spares and just literally replace them rather than trying to clean them out as much. But if you're like me, I try to look after them. That is one piece I don't separate for cleaning, sheared off the tip of my first airbrush. Mark, you really should take it out. Not an issue with thinners as the seals are Teflon. Cellulose thinners is good for cleaning. Don't get it on the rubbers. Fair enough. I actually do use something for cleaning. Obviously, I am just working the crap out of this for the moment. But when I'm cleaning through paints and stuff later, I do use something else. So I'm pretty happy with how that's come out. If you want to make sure as well, clean the centre of your brush. Again with a pipe cleaner. What I actually use to clean is screen wash. Concentrated screen wash with a 50-50 mix. Now obviously, like I said, I've already cleaned this before we've come on stream, just to double check that everything was okay. So there is a small rubber seal on the tip here. Make sure of course it is intact. And screw the nozzle on. Now you don't want to put it too tight, but you do want to, finger tight. So I can't, tighten that any further, but I should be almost able to get that off by hand. We've then got two parts of the nozzle, and this controls the flow of the spray itself. And these two bits here. I wonder if that's what's up with mine then. Tom, it will be. Take it out, right? Use the pipe cleaners, soak it in concentrated screen wash. You can use airbrush thinners as well. I use screen wash because it's really cheap. But yeah, that'll be it. Like I said, I spent about 15 minutes cleaning just that tip out of Ollie's and gave him a back. He was like, Harry, it's like a new airbrush. Evening, Harry, just finished some airbrushing and cleaning it and saw you were on. No worries, thanks for tuning in. Vallejo airbrush cleaner, then glass cleaner, finally flush through with water. I do something very similar, but again we'll get to that when I actually paint. I take the brass fitting out of the tip, still in for cleaning mine. Bigger gap then. Oh, so that tip there. Yeah, you can take that out if you really, really want to. But I find that just cleaning this nozzle out and then cleaning the brass with the pipe cleaner is enough. So we'll then put the first nozzle on. And you can see there that the tip of that is just about poking through. And then you put the second one on as well. And again, just need to be finger tight. Cool man, I'll try tomorrow and let you know. Well, I'll show you a couple of tricks in a bit. And then finally, my clean needle that I've kept here. In fact, that's not my clean one. There's my clean one. So I'm using a 0.2mm needle as well as a 0.2mm nozzle. And then once the needle is in, you might struggle to see it on camera, but it's poking through here. Tighten that piece up. Now what this does, that keeps the needle in place so that when you pull back and forth, it pulls the needle in and out with it as well. So again, if you want to adjust, you can turn this. There we go. And that's your control back and forth. You can leave it like this. I have a habit of sometimes doing that because I find that if I haven't cleaned very much or very well, it gets stuck. But realistically, you want to put your case on the back as well, just to stop everything from getting stuck. I think There we go. So, along with the pipe cleaners that I use to help clean, and I do use the thick ones as well. For example, if there's a load of gunk on the handle here, I'll scrub it like this. I also use these ones. These are just literally, they're like guitar cables, but they're ridged. So again, if the brush isn't solid enough or it's bent, you can, for example, feed one of these pretty much straight through the airbrush all the way through. And again, I've done that this evening, and you can see there that the needle is in the bottom. You can see mine is a little bit tarnished and stuff. Obviously, I've used this a lot. So it's handy to have a couple of sets of these. I've got another set here which I haven't opened yet, but it's handy to always have them on hand. So the next thing that we'll look at is the cables. So you can get some of these with a quick release. Don't use ultrasonic cleaner on that kind of nozzle. You'll destroy the O-ring in no time. I don't use a supersonic cleaner. Shared a video link of Harder Steenbeck Ultra versus iWater Neo to the Facebook page for you, Harry. Thank you very much, David. If anyone is interested, go and check out the Dark Artisan Facebook page. So some people do have a quick release on and off here. I don't. This is just the cable that came with my compressor. My compressor and the first airbrush I got, I paid about 99 quid for off eBay. So people that say, you know, hundreds and hundreds of pounds, you don't need to spend hundreds of pounds. I haven't. I would say the more expensive thing I bought was my paint collection. So finger tight, doesn't need to be massively tight. But then we'll have a look at the compressor. So I apologise if it's a little bit dirty. This is my compressor. So it is a little bit dirty, like I said. It's old, it's been sat down here, it's been religiously used for about 3 years. This is where the other end of the nozzle goes. This is the on-off switch, and this is the tank. You can get compressors without tanks. I wouldn't recommend it. And then this is your quick release. So if there is some air still in here, which there's not, that would pull it out. This is your condensation trap, so if there's any water or condensation in here, always release it after your use by lifting this up. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing we've got is we have the pressure gauge here. Depending on what you're spraying, depends on where you want what pressure you want. I would recommend for most airbrushing between 17 and 22, 25. If you are really struggling with an incredibly thick paint and you are base painting, then go closer to 30, but I certainly wouldn't go over 30. So this trips off itself when the tank is full, and then when you start spraying, of course, it'll release and it'll start back up as the pressure begins to fall and the tank starts to empty. The only thing I would recommend is if you run it excessively, it does get very, very hot. My window is here, so I do keep the window open when I'm airbrushing a lot, and it also obviously helps reduce the fumes as well. So I keep this on the floor next to me here, and then we'll connect the airbrush up. So there's a number of different fluids, tools, I suppose, materials that I use. I use Vallejo airbrush thinner. This will help you thin down paints if they are too thick to go through. I wouldn't recommend GW base paints. Try and avoid it where possible, guys. Look for a Vallejo substitute or buy the GW Air. GW layer paints are okay, that you can thin them down quite enough to get through. But again, if there's a Vallejo substitute, I prefer using the Vallejo, but the GW layer paints are okay if you thin them down. I also use flow improver. I normally put a drop or two of this in the bottom of my airbrush pot, just to allow it to help try and flow through and basically, I'm going to say lubricate the actual mechanism in the bottom. Mark, overheated mine one summer, was a real pain as it needed to cool before it would work again, so couldn't clean the brush straight away. Yep. Yep. Chick High on YouTube says, harder and Steenbeck nozzle is way easier to maintain than the Iwata type. Good shout, damn good airbrushes too. Well, I'll certainly give that a look, so thank you very much to David and Chick High for that. Big ups, Windsor and Newton. Yeah. Federal Chipmunk 1 is now following us. Thank you very much. You can get Vallejo Flow Improver as well. I've got a range next to me, and the range sell Windsor and Newton stuff. They actually sell thinners as well. It's just that I bought a couple of bottles of these when I first got started. Flow Improver, this is my second bottle in 3 years. I literally put 2 or 3 drops in the bottom every time I spray, and that's it. But Windsor and Newton, if there is the range near you, go and look for some of this stuff. Best place to get Vallejo, I've heard some good things about them. Vallejo isn't at the range, but Windsor and Newton is. What else do I use? Get yourself a washing up liquid bottle with a squirty nozzle. Now, this is what I use to rinse. So when I'm finished airbrushing and I want to rinse the rest of the paint out, I rinse with that and I squirt it in. Now, this is 50-50 concentrated screen wash and just cold tap water. I find that it works better than glass cleaner. I know someone recommended glass cleaner. Screen wash is basically glass cleaner. And I got this bottle. There you go. For $1.50 in Wilkinson's. And that's 2.5 litres, which essentially equates to 5 litres of wash fluid. If you wash it 50-50. So some other things that I would absolutely recommend. Cotton buds, or Q-tips as Americans call them. It just means that if you do get a little bit of crap in the bottom of here, you can quite easily clean it out. Get some screen wash on it, give it a rinse out, pull your needle out, get right in the cracks and crevices, and give it a good clean. Some other things that I would recommend for when you start airbrushing as well. You can buy a proper waste pot, and I would absolutely recommend getting one. I'll be getting one when I get paid from my new job. I use this as my waste pot, and you can see it's filthy. So what I do, finished with my paint, rinse it out like that, give it a bit of a spray, pump it through, and yeah, it pretty much cleans most of that out. There is a couple of other things to do whilst you're cleaning, which we'll show you in a little while once I actually start getting down to the airbrushing. But that is how I basically rinse the brush between colours. I would recommend, if you're going to be using white, metallics, or yellows, that you probably give your airbrush a very good clean afterwards, because white pigment is incredibly thick and it's not nice. It blocks it very easily. I've got Rakarth Flesh, which I love to put through an airbrush, but they don't do it in an air colour. It's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. But because it's quite, well, it's a base colour, so it's quite thick anyway, but then it's pretty light, which means it clogs up even more as well. Try to avoid those if you can. Like I said, look for a Vallejo substitute if possible. UV varnish is good too from Windsor and Newton. I haven't tried that, David. Cotton buds are okay, but you can risk getting fibres in the nozzle. Cheap or synthetic brushes from the range, etc. are a good alternative. I'll certainly give that a go. Metal Madness UK is now following us on Twitch. Thank you very much for the follow, man. Right, so where was I? Oh. Yeah, so clean. So paints. You can use your GW paints. They're not terrible. okay, maybe some of them are terrible. The whites, anything base painted, for example, Dryad Bark, I have a nightmare trying to put that through. Rackar Flesh, Warplock Bronze, because it's not only a base colour, it's also metallic, is pretty bad to go through. Get yourself some Vallejo colours. I'm just getting these ones in the post. So, if you want bright, vibrant colours, right, I absolutely recommend Vallejo Game Air. If there is a Boys near you, Boys do a lot of Vallejo paints. I have got some incredibly bright colours up here. So, for example, there we've got Electric Blue and Magic Blue. I've got some reds, greens, squid pink. There's a lot of very, very bright, vibrant colours, and they're already quite thin and diluted, almost ready for the airbrush. Midland Miniatures is great for Vallejo. I'm not sure where that is. White is horrible, even seen bits of splatter from the very best airbrush painters on some models when white is involved. White is horrendous. I would, however, if you are going white, this is the best. I say the best, it's the most tolerable one. Vallejo Model Air is very much based around sort of dull colours. It's more for sort of ball action, historical colours. There's a lot of kind of old-fashioned coloured colours with them, but I find that the Game Air, you get a lot of bright, vibrant colours. Midland Miniatures is next to Pelor Metro. Where's Pelor Metro? I love Vallejo whites and creams also rather than the GW ones. Yeah, for airbrush, absolutely, absolutely. Another example is Burnt Umber. Whoa, Metal Madness coming in with a donation of £5. Thank you very, very much. If using white ink cures the issues you're having, also doesn't need much, if any, thinning. Right, thank you very much. I will check that out, David. Burnt Umber is a fantastic colour, right? If you're airbrushing brown, I cannot recommend this enough. If you are doing tank tracks, or you want like scorch, mud, this is your colour go-to. Model is the very best for hyper-realistic, historical, natural colours. There you go. Thank you very much, Mark. Game Air is very much for Age of Sigmar, Infinity, Malifaux. Very bright, vibrant colours. Really, really good stuff. So, we're going to do some airbrushing now. I'm going to turn my compressor on and let it fill up. Hopefully, you can probably hear it, but I hope that it's not too loud. So, what I found when I started airbrushing is I had to learn to paint again. I learned to paint very, very different. Metal Madness, you
decided to try Twitch just for you.
Oh, thank you very much, Will. And yes, we of course do have what's it called? Text to voice. So if you would like to make a donation or subscribe via Twitch, you can get your message read out as well. So thank you very much for that, Will. I do appreciate it. Also, guys, if you want to support the channel, you can support us via Patreon. There is early access to battle reports, as well as once a month there's exclusive battle reports, and you get to see everything that I'm working on in the meantime. And I'm concerned that that's now not tripping off. There we go. Oh, is that a Salamander's Repulsor set? Oh, yes, Chris, it is. I do need to do a little bit of work on this because despite having several elastic bands around it, it pulled away here. So I'm going to have to touch it up with a little bit of liquid green stuff and then re-airbrush it before I go back. Honestly, everything else on it went really nice well together, right? And just the front there refused to meet up. Instar Paint White is top tier, but the best you can get through your airbrush is Forge World ink. Or FW ink, not Forge World. Once you try that, you'll never go back. Cool, I'll certainly give that a go. I don't really airbrush much white now that my towel is complete, but I certainly will give it a go. But what I was saying, guys, is if you would like to support the channel and get early access to our battle reports, pick the battle reports that you want to see, as well as see all the miniatures that I'm working on behind the scenes, and once a month exclusive battle reports, you can support us via Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Once you've donated a total of $60 through Patreon, you also get a free Dark Artisan t-shirt. If you also have Amazon Prime, you can support us on Twitch by subscribing. Amazon Prime gives you one free subscription per month, and that just helps us go back into the channel. For example, the backdrops that you see in the battle reports were all supported from Patreon and Twitch, and of course the curtain backdrops, which have been on the more recent ones as well. That's normal, all 4 of mine have done that. No worries, Chris. But yeah, also, of course, if you do wish to donate, you can use the super chat function on YouTube. You can donate bits on Twitch, which would be greatly appreciated. And you can also donate directly to Twitch as well and get your voice message read out. So, there's several different things that I had to relearn how to do with airbrushing, okay? And it was learning how to essentially recolor certain objects. Now I'm trying to think about what have I got here that I can show you that's different. So I'm going to grab my Blood Angels repulsor here. Now, I didn't paint the repulsor itself with an airbrush, but you can see here the glow that I've done from the headlights. So I've done it in blue, and then I've done a very targeted white with a little bit of blue in on the headlights. And I've also done some exhaust burn here, which I'll just show you a little bit closer so you can see there. So it goes from gold to purple to blue to black. Oh, Chakai coming in with £5. Thank you very much, man. This will cover your first bottle of FW ink. You can thank me later. Out of curiosity, is that actually at the range? Because I was in there tonight. Will you get to hear my lovely voice in the narrative bat reps early? Yes, you do. You do. The second mission for the narrative bat rep is also available on Patreon right now. And there is a Raven Guard versus Eldari battle report, which is available on Patreon right now. One of those will be coming to YouTube on Friday. In addition to that, there will be an Orc versus Blood Angels battle report on Patreon tonight, right after the stream. So if that's what you want to do, there you go. No hobbycraft do it. Well, me and Lucy don't have any plans on Saturday, so I think we might have to go to hobbycraft. So yeah, that is two of the things that I learned how to do with the airbrush. There is separate tutorials on the channel for both of these. So if you're interested in them, not only will I show you tonight, you can actually go and watch the tutorials for them as well. And you can see I've done it on the Onslaught Gatling Cannon and this. And it even works on the exhaust at the back as well, and on the little Iron Hail Heavy Stubbers. That was two things that I learned airbrush. If you give me a second. I've got a bit of a cough. Zenithal highlighting. Lucy versus Harry, that's what important, not Hulks versus Blood Angel. It's Lucy versus Harry in a 40k game instead of a Sigmar game. That's what's important, Will. So, of course, I did airbrush this Commander Shadow Sun Ghost Keel. I airbrushed the entire Tau collection doing it. But what I actually did was, believe it or not, when I primed this model, I primed it black. Yep, black. And because if you look underneath, you'll see that most of it is actually quite dark. So I had to relearn how to paint when I was doing these. So what I actually did was, this model was all black when I started it. And this isn't quite the right colour, but it's close enough. This is grey-blue. I think it was called intermediate blue previously. And what I did was I airbrushed this across the entire model, but when I sprayed the model, I only went from a front angle. So I didn't tip it like that and spray it under. I only sprayed straight at the front and at the sides, and obviously around the back. And of course I did also spray at the top. That left the model with natural shadow underneath of black, and then it blended itself into the dark grey. I then airbrushed wolf grey. So what I did was, as I hear it from the top angles like this, so I sprayed down over, and I'm just spraying their fluid on that. I sprayed down over and then across there, so obviously I was still going down, but I was hitting the flat panels of the knees, the top of the hand, and I was getting some of the sides as you went on. And then when I did that and I'd finished with that, I actually then used white, but I went top down on the white. Chris Wilde donated £5. Wow, thank you very much, Chris. That is greatly appreciated. No voice message, but I spoke to your lovely self the other day on the phone, so I'll accept that. But yeah, the white basically allowed me to keep the knee pads here in particular quite white as well. So that's how I managed to do the white, and then of course painted all the details in with brush after. And I applied that to a lot of other things that I've then gone on to paint. The range usually has a starter set which includes the white butter bottle on its own, is usually about $4.50. A decent art shop will have most or all of the range. They're worth every penny. Do you follow Vince Ventrilla by any chance? Oh yes, me too. So many good tips in hobby cheating. I actually need to go and watch him. I don't get that much time to watch with me doing my own videos. But yeah. So that was, or is, Zenithal highlighting. Now, I haven't fully done it on this repulsor yet, but I primed this repulsor black. They are short, Harry. I'll have a look. So, sorry, Harry, we're on a hijack. No worries. So, I sprayed this black, and then I've done this with Warpstone. Apologies about it looking a little bit washed out. It's because of my bright light next to us here, but it is quite bright. This is Warpstone Glow. So what I've done is I've mainly sprayed from the sides and the top. Of course, I've sprayed more where the panels are, but if you look there, you can see under here is still dark. So what I'll do is, after I've applied the wash, I'll actually be doing more Warpstone Glow on the top panels to make it even brighter. So that is what Zenithal highlighting is, especially under there. You can see it there. For example, I haven't gone under there or under the sides here, but from the tabletop angle, it looks like it should with light coming down on the top. Try Dana Howell on YouTube for a great video on Zenithal highlighting and underpainting. I certainly will. I'm ordering some Vallejo metal colour soon, mainly because of him. They look great. Scale 75. Golds and silvers are fantastic, and they go so nice through an airbrush as well. So that is Zenithal highlight, and we will do an example of that a little bit later when I come to paint up this Demon Prince. Of course, there is then Plasma Glow, which is very similar to what I've done with the repulsor. And then, of course, you've got the exhaust burn as well, which I'll be doing in particular on this Laz Talon. He slated them due to splitting. Ah, right, fair enough. So, yeah, we'll be doing that as well. So, what would you guys like to see first? Do you want to see some zenithal highlighting? Do you want to see some exhaust burn? Or, I've got these lovely arc rifles which need a little bit of glow applying to them. It's entirely up to you guys what you would like to see. But you guys tell me and I shall do. Now I know I've got this nice lovely cutting mat. I am still going to protect my work area because I'm not silly. Exhaust burn. Cool. We'll do some exhaust burn then, Chris. I do have several bits and pieces to do of exhaust burn. So, I do actually... In fact, no, we'll not do those. So, the exhaust burn, we've got... so, we've got an iron hail, we've got another iron hail, and I think that is it. Yep, so we've got the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, we've got the Las Talon, 2 iron hails, and we've actually got this as well. So I'm not going to paint the front half of this yet, I'm going to do that separate, but that's fine. And realistically we've got these as well, which I actually need to paint gold before I can actually start and do the exhaust burn, because I need to base coat them. So we will do these two first. What you'll also probably want, right, and I don't recommend these gloves that I've got here, is you want a pack of gloves, not vinyl. Don't get vinyl gloves, get latex gloves. Now I bought latex gloves on Amazon, and guess what turned up? But I was desperate for them, so I didn't bother sending them back. Vallejo surface primer, I guess. What paints do you use for airbrush primer? I'm not sure. What do you mean by that, big dog? What paints do you use for airbrush primer? As in, what primer do you use? All of this is primed with just black rattle can primer. However, you can buy Vallejo surface primer, and it does go a long way. Try Dark Star Molten Metals. Not so hot through the airbrush, but by brush they knock Vallejo out of the park. The range of colours they have is mental. I'll certainly have a look at those as well. A couple of other things that I do like to use through an airbrush is Green Stuff World colour shifts, as well as Turbo Dark paints and metallics as well. One of my favourite colour shifts actually... let me see if I can find it. This is my favourite. This is Turbo Dark 3D glasses, and if you can see it, it flips between purple and blue. And if you've seen the Alarial that I painted up for Paula's commission, I used 3D glasses on it, and it was bloody fantastic. You have to use them through an airbrush. You've got very little choice in the matter, to be honest. It does not look good with a brush. So, what have we got? Glorious Gold. Right, so, to start off with, where have I put the fourth one? There it is. So to start off with, we're going to put a drop or two of Flow Improver in the bottom. There we go. And then we're going to use some air paint. Now this colour is called Rust, and you can use it exactly as Rust, but I like it for the dark, rich gold. It's similar to Balthazar, but obviously I don't really want to use Balthazar in here. Now, what I'm going to do is a couple of different techniques to help mix it. So you can see the paint in the bottom. I'm actually going to cover the nozzle and blow air to make a bubble slightly. And you can see there it's bubbled ever so slightly in the bottom. It just helps mix it. What you also want to do is every time you go in McDonald's, every time you go in Greg's or somewhere similar, pick up a load of these. You want these religiously, right? And just mix your paint in the bottom. And I'm actually going to put 1 or 2 drops of thinners in. Not a lot because it's already an air paint. But I just want to make sure that it flows through nice and easy. And you want, not as thin as water. You want it a little bit thicker than water. I would say like milk. And then just test it there, and you can see there the paint's coming through nice and well. So, in fact, I don't think my needle's fully in there. There we go. So what will happen, or what happened there, is when I push down, I shouldn't have any paint coming down. That's just air. Now, what happened is, because my needle wasn't right into the nozzle, it was actually spraying paint out of the nozzle. So what I did is I just loosened that off, pushed the needle further in, which is what caused that bit of paint to spurt out. But now you'll find that as you pull back, paint comes out. And the further you pull back, the more paint you'll get. You don't get any extra air for pushing down. You get the same amount of air constantly. If you want a bigger push of air, turn your pressure up. Now I'm running at about 18 there, which isn't too strong. But you can see there, the further I go back, so there, next to no paint, a little bit of paint, loads. So, I'm actually going to now spray these. Now realistically, what I would have liked to have done, and what I perhaps should have done before the stream, was glue them onto one of them sticks so that I can just hold the stick and airbrush the lot. As it stands, I'm a little bit silly, and I haven't done that. So I'm going to just do half of one side like this. And what we'll do is we'll give it a minute or 2 to dry, and then we'll flip them around and do the other side. See, because that happens. So I'll give that a second or 2. What airbrush are you using and needle size? That is a 15 quid cheapo from Amazon, and the needle is a 0.2. Instar do a colour shift paint that's like a glaze. You can use it in conjunction with different colour base paints for different effects. You can essentially make your own colour shift. Wow, fair enough. I know the contrast paints from GW almost done that. Because, for example, the Blood Angels Red over Gold looks phenomenal. And I think it's the Iskelian Blue over Silver looks like Alpha Legion. There you are. So we'll just give that another second, and I'll just make sure that I've got all the sides as well. And then I'll show you how I rinse. I'm just going to give that. There we go. So we'll let that dry up there, and I'll show you how I rinse. Now, everyone has their own separate ways. I'm sure David or Chakai will probably have a different way each, and completely different to me. Each to their own. I use this because I don't have a sink upstairs. My sink is downstairs. I fill this. In fact, I've got 2 of them, and then I take them down and clean them at the end of my airbrush session. So you can see there I've got a load of paint in the bottom here. And like I said, we're going to take the 50-50 mix of screen wash and water and just rinse it out. And because I've got a squirty bottle, I can give it a little bit of power. And you can see there, it's almost clear. Blast a little bit of it back through. And again, this is where if you buy a proper airbrush cleaner, you actually get like a cover on it like that. And what you also could do is, again, cover it and just generate some bubbles in the bottom there. and then give it another blast out. And then tip out. And then what I always do afterwards is then just give it a clean out with some kitchen roll, just to absorb most of the rest of the fluid, and then blow out what's left. See there, that's quite wet now. But there you go. Pretty clean. Now, I'm happy to move on to another colour now because I didn't use much there. If I was using white, I'd probably take the nozzle off, take the needle out, give it a good clean through. Because I'm continuing airbrushing though, I'm going to keep going and just clean it between each colour in that way. So, what we do now for the exhaust burn, there's several colours that I like to use for the exhaust burn. Which one is it? Black. Right. So, to do the exhaust burn, the colours that I use are Glorious Gold, Hex Lichen, which is a purple. I'm sure I had a different blue to this, but I'm going to go with this one. The reason I go with that one is because I find that ultramarine blue is too bright. I like the Model Air dulled down navy blue. And then black. So what you do is you want to build this up in stages. And we're going to do like about 2/3 of the weapon in Glorious Gold, or 2/3 of the tip. And then what you'll do is you do half the tip in Hex Lichen, you do 1/3 of the tip in blue, and then you do the very tip in black. Check Vince's latest hobby cheating for easy cleaning, Harry. I airbrush up my dining table and don't have a sink nearby, or I'm at work with the airbrush, so no sink at all. I'll certainly give it a look, man. So a few drops of flow improver in the bottom, a little bit of gold in there, and then just a tiny bit of airbrush thinners. And then of course I'm using the other end of the stick. A little bit of a back pedal, and then a test. There you go. So, with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it till about there, up to about here, with the Glorious Gold. Just nice and steady. And there you go, up to about 2/3 of the way through. But what you want to do is you actually do want to spray the rest of the nozzle, the rest of the tip. So you do want to paint all the way to the top because you want to build up that that layer of colour. So again, we're going about 2/3 of the way across the top. But then also making sure that you're painting all the way to the tip as well. And we'll do the same on, don't get me wrong, the heavy stubbers are hard, well, I'd say they're easier, but they're harder to get the gradients right on them because they're a lot smaller. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do it to these as well. What David said, that video of Vince's is a game changer if you're working with different colours in a single session. Along with the ink for white, stop, tip, dry and making clean quick easy. Lads, I'll certainly give that a look, so thank you very much for pointing that out. But then with these ones, we're going to do the same. So although that's a darker gold rust colour, we're actually going to paint just sort of 2/3 of it. I'm going to pull me light there, so hopefully it's a bit easier for you to see. Okay, so seems like the gold is starting to block slightly. So what I do to help try and loosen it is I loosen the needle and just give the needle a couple of quick pumps like that. There you go. Mikey's just tuned in. Thanks for tuning in, Mikey. Hope you're well. So you can see there, I've now done most of the tip of that. Good, good. Whereabouts in the Midlands are you, Chakai? What do you class as the Midlands? Because if it's Manchester, Manchester is not the Midlands. Manchester is the South. Darlington shows how much Harry gets around. Darlington's not that far. Darlington's like 40 minutes from me. So again, covering about 2/3 of the actual exhaust. And making sure you get the whole tip as well. And there we go. So by the time we go back to the first one, it should be dry. So, again, back to cleaning out. A little bit of back pedal. Another rinse. Right, 2 seconds. There's my kitchen roll. The joys of airbrushing. Clean, clean, clean. Yeah, it's not so bad though. Harry's knowledge of bargain bucket high street shops shows he's a pro. What do you mean bargain bucket high street shops? The trigger's starting to stick a little. So what's happening here is when I push down, it's getting stuck a little bit. So there. So just give it a bit of a scrub. I mean, see, Mark asked this question earlier. What do you use lubricant for? That. That's what you should use your lubricant for, Mark. Wilco's. The range do stock Winsor & Newton's professional watercolour brushes, which are my go-to brush, he means. Ah, right, fair enough. Bazza! Big up Wilco's and the range lifesavers. Absolutely. Wilkinson's white primer and grey primer, I swear by them. So, again, 2 or 3 drops of flow improver in the bottom, and then we're moving on to hex liching. And I'm not going to put any thinners in just yet, because with it being a normal paint, I'm going to see how we get on with it. There we go, that's pretty nice. And you can see there that obviously the more I pull back, the more paint. Don't have either in Whitby. No, but you've got a boys. Big Dog 6, is that Dan? Or is it James? Hang on, there's no Wilkinsons in Whitby. I'm sure there was. Anyway, moving on, what we're now going to do is spray about half of this tip with the hexed lichen. And what you'll find is that the blend from the gold over to the purple is actually quite nice. So obviously focus more on the tip and then just work it up ever so slightly as you start getting towards where the gold stops. Of course, you still want to make sure that you paint the full tip. There you go. Dan, but not Woodhouse. Ah, right, fair enough. There's a boys right next to the outpost. Yeah, it's right. It's like 2 or 3 shops along. We get loads of them in Middlesbrough. Yeah, there's a boys up at Shields, which is where I tend to go to. So again, making sure that there's plenty of purple on the tip. And just a little bit as you start to get towards the edge of the gold. Actually, is that better? Oh, you can't even see over there because of that light. That's blue. My colour blindness sucks. It's definitely purple, Chris, but it's probably the colour saturation on the camera as well. It's definitely purple though. Right, I'm just going to try and work that handle a bit. There we go. Evening lads, evening Marley, thanks for tuning in. We'll have to check my 2 local ones. B&M of all places had Della Rowney inks in a few months back, keep them peeled. I'll certainly have a look, there's 2 B&Ms in Sunderland. So I'm just making sure that I actually clip the inside of the exhaust there as well. Only primary colours but £2 a bottle. That's canny. So again, I'm only making sure that I only get half of the exhaust here. And I think this is a little bit easier to do, this one, because it's obviously a straight cylinder. I'm going to make sure that I get the inside. Another massive commission coming up. Harry, your favourite Blood Angels. I'm bored of painting my Blood Angels, mate. I'm changing a lot of my spare models for a different chapter. So again, we're going to go about halfway down. And then make sure that we paint the entire tip. Have you said what chapter you're doing? No, I haven't. If I recall, you were doing ultras. I did one ultramarine for a commission, and I'm doing a salamander repulsor there for a commission. Oh, Chris, get this right. So I started my new job last Monday, and there's only me and the project accountant who works in finance on the entire site, who does finance, right? She's on holiday on Friday through till the following month, not Monday after, the month, so she's off for 6 working days, right? And she's leaving me in charge of the company credit card, the company fuel card, and I've got to do expenses for the entire site. After I'd been working there for 9 days. She must trust us, and that's all I'm saying. So, I'm going to rinse the hex lichen out. Mephiston will get you wanting to do more Blood Angels. Not really. Not with the amount that I've got done, David. And I've still got a hefty amount to do. Technically, if you count everything that I've got that's unpainted. For example, I've got 2 Impulsors, 20 Infiltrators, 2 Invictus Warsuits, 9 Eliminators, 2 Predators, 30 Tactical Marines and Devastators, some Dreadnoughts, handful of characters, 15 Terminators. Guys, I am absolutely busting for the toilet, so I will be back in a few moments. Do not go anywhere, I will be back. I'm back. Take it easy, boys. 4 a.m. start for me. Great stream. Thanks very much, Kai. Thanks for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. 2 seconds. Right, so yes, I'm back. Paint them up with Storm Eagles. No. No. Batman. That's the thing though, Chris, like, I love Blood Angels, but like, I've got 2 Invictus Warsuits there. Should I paint them both as Blood Angels? I've also got more Marines coming from Conquest and another Repulsor. I barely use my Blood Angel one as it is. Should I not just paint it up as another chapter? I've got a Land Speeder, I've got an Attack Bike, I've got Scouts, I've got 15 Intercessors, I've got a box of Incursors there. I could paint 5 of them as Blood Angels and 5 as something else. I've got 10 Infiltrators. Do you know what I mean? I've got loads and loads and loads of Space Marine stuff that I could do as something else easily. Two of them as Salamanders. Believe me, I thought. Because green actually is my favourite colour. It had crossed my mind. Batman chat with black and yellow. Do it! Maybe, Chris, maybe. But then I feel bad because I'm not adding to the ranks of the Blood Angels as much, because it's like, 2 Invictus! Yeah! But then obviously if I do another chapter, I want 4 Invictus! But money. That's annoying us now. Just your average Skaven. Thank you very much for tuning in, man. I hope you're well. Oh, look at that crap on the bottom of the nozzle. So we were airbrushing quite well until my handle started to stick. Oh, that could be why. There's loads of gunk in it. So we've been talking about airbrush cleaning and what tools I actually use to airbrush, as well as some of the techniques used. And I'm currently in the process of showing off how to do some exhaust burn. Can I have a hug? Having a rough day? You can have a massive hug. Invictors are great, but need the Dreadnought keyword. I know, because Blood Angel vehicles don't get +1 to wound, because they're not Codex compliant. How stupid is that though, Chris? It's very, very silly. I mean, let's face it, it's clearly a Dreadnought. But it's not a Dreadnought, it's a vehicle! And Blood Angel vehicles don't get +1 to wound. Because, you know, that makes them really broken, doesn't it, Chris? Not yet. No, hopefully Blood of Baal will actually help. It's still sticking a little bit like. You think that's bad? Try running Grey Knight. Oh, God. Chris, can you tell me why Grey Knights have not been addressed? Gonna go, got stuff to put up. No worries, man. Catch you later. Thanks for tuning in, Dave. So next up we're using blue. Just blue. That's really irritating that that's sticking now. So now we're going to work on just the front quarter. And what you find is that the blue over the top of the hex lichen is actually quite rich and deep. So we're only going on the very, very tip. Well, I say the very tip, it's slightly over the very tip because we've got one more colour to go after, which is the black. So there we go, just doing the very tip of that again. And again doing the inside of the nozzle as well. Making sure that you're getting all of it. Will this stream be available on YouTube to watch whenever? Yes, Chris, it will, but all of these about the exhaust burn, the lights, the glow and everything, all of them, there's already separate tutorials available for them. But yes, this one will be going up on YouTube tomorrow. So again, just getting the tip and just covering the tips of the purple. And we're nearly done. Awesome, thanks bud. Need to sleep. Cheers, Harry. Speak soon. No worries, Chris. Speak soon, man. And thanks once again for tuning in. Thank you very much for the donation. So if you're just joining us, we are currently working on exhaust burn. And the last colour to do is black. So, a couple of drops of flow improver again in the bottom. Little bit of black. And this one won't take much at all. So what we're doing here is we literally just want to catch just the tip in black. So with this one, I'm just getting the individual barrels, the very, very, very tip. So the exhaust here, easy just to get. There you go. It actually gets easier as you get less and less and less colours on. I always 3 to 5 drops of Vallejo floor improver at the tip of the airbrush before I put the paint in the cup. Yeah, that's what I've been putting in the bottom, Dave. Got to take care that your gloved hand doesn't put paint on the piece you're handling, though sometimes I switch to clean gloves. Yeah, I'm only doing a small amount though, so I'm managing okay. And there we go, that's the exhaust burns done. So you can see there, gold through to purple, but it looks almost magenta, through to blue, through to the black. It's a game changer, the airbrush, for sure. It absolutely is for some things. A lot of people go, oh, you use airbrush, you cheat. No, airbrushing is a totally different technique that is applied to several different ways of painting. It is not the be all and end all. Absolutely not. Yet some people seem to think that it is. I don't have an airbrush. Do you think it would be useful for Bone Splitter's army with lots of models? Yes. What I would do is I would actually do your flesh by using Zenithal highlighting. You clean your airbrush in exactly the same way that I do. Yep, I think a lot of people do. However, for some reason, my you know what, I'm gonna I think it would be absolutely useful, Kyle. Prime with Vallejo, say white or grey surface paint for models. I don't even use that, Dave. I actually just use Wilkinson's own primer. So I would definitely consider it, Kyle. You could Zenithal highlight a lot of it, so you could spray it all, for example, a dark green. And then you could do a side and top down of Warpstone, and then you could do just a top down of Moot Green. That is how I would do it if I was doing Bone Splitters. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning this bit out because my nozzle is sticking, so I'm making sure that that bit is nice and clean. But yeah, I painted an entire Tau army with mostly Zenithal highlighting, and painting the rest of it in. So, for example, I sprayed my entire Tau collection black, and Zenithal highlighted it in grey and then white, and then painted in the blue and the silvers afterwards. Do you have to spend a great deal on an airbrush to get started? No, Nathan. Depends on what you get. So this airbrush was 15 quid from Amazon. That's all I paid for the airbrush. The compressor that I've got here is about 80 quid. I think I paid about 100 3 years ago off eBay for an airbrush and compressor. You do need to keep a supply of fresh needles. Needles bend and get dirty very, very easily, and I'd recommend a fresh supply of nozzles as well, and probably have an airbrush or two spare. It's then the fact that your thinners is a tenner, your flow improver is like 8 quid, and then I've got like 40 paints up there that I only use for airbrushing, which Vallejo, you're talking 273 quid each. So like that was another, 100 quid for me paint. I've been painting my Oryx red. Do they have Wazdaka red and Evil Sun Scarlet in airbrush? I have no idea, as I don't really use GW airbrush paints. I use Vallejo paints. What I do know that they have is Bloody Red, and that's Gory Red, and I've got another one up there which is in between them. I'm sure there is a lighter one as well though. I've actually got Mephiston Red in airbrush as well. The only reason I've got Mephiston Red is because my Blood Angels are Mephiston Red, so I didn't want to use a colour that was close to but not Mephiston Red. I wanted Mephiston Red. Then use GWY flesh watered down with either Vallejo airbrush thinner or distilled water. You could do, but the problem with watering down contrast, Dave, is it's slightly glossy, and you probably don't want that. What we will do though is, just for Kyle actually, seeing as Kyle's here now, I say here now, seeing as he's here on stream right now, I'm actually going to paint a Demon Prince in red. And the Demon Prince I'm painting is actually Nathan's, who is on Twitch right now. So Nathan, because I haven't spoke to you about colours, do you want your Khorne Demon Prince in red? As long as Nathan says it's fine to do it in red. So what I've done, Nathan, is I've sprayed him black, right? We're then going to spray him one of these 3 reds, whichever's the darkest. Gory red, which is about corn red. We're then going to do scarlet to lighten it up a little bit, and then bloody red on the top, and then we'll wash them all with Carabog Crimson or Agrax and re-highlight them up with blood red. So as long as he replies, like I said, I don't want to jump the gun here. I suspected that's what he wanted, as he did say Khorne Demon Prince. What I'll actually do though is not paint the wings and not paint this yet. Well, actually I will, because what I'll do is I'm going to do this, the same red, and I'm going to do the wings separately. I'm going to blend the wings in. Come on, Nathan. Well, Nathan, it's gone red. He's got until I clean the tip of this paint out. Also, that weather outside sounds horrendous. Right, 2 or 3 drops of flow improver. Vallejo Gory Red. There we go. Right, 2 minutes he's there. There we go. By the way, awesome bat reps, man. Thank you very much. There is a very special one coming out next week of Blood Angels versus Orcs. Just while I wait for Nathan to reply, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has supported the channel and, of course, the stream tonight. Love that Gloomspite versus Bone Splitters. And Ian Spink is a fantastic Bone Splitters player as well. So if you would like to support the channel, not only can you donate via PayPal on Twitch, you can donate bits on Twitch. You can also donate via Super Chat on YouTube. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to us on Twitch, as Amazon Prime gives you 1 free subscription per month. Alternatively, you can also support us on Patreon, which gets you early access to battle reports. It gets you a once-a-month exclusive battle report, as well as get you access to all the models and minis that I'm painting and working on behind the scenes as well. Patreon see that first before anyone else. And Nathan gave me the go-ahead. So, this will take a while to build up because obviously it's on black. But basically, because it's on black, we're leaving the underside of his flesh black. We're doing sideways with the gory red. And then we'll slowly build it up using Zenithal highlighting. So what I'm doing here is I'm only spraying from the side. I'm not spraying from the bottom like that. I'm only spraying on the side. So you see, like under there, that's still black, but as you flip it, it becomes red. So what we'll do is, because I know the wings are going that way, and then we'll do the same with the other wing. Making sure that we don't basically get from underneath, because that's the look from underneath. We want to make sure that we keep the look from on the top. There we go. So we'll rinse that out. It feels like it's struggling a little bit. There we go. And then we will be moving on to Scarlet Red, which is a little bit lighter red than that. So again, 2 or 3 drops of flow improver. There we go. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to angle it only from sort of 10 and 2 o'clock and go around. Okay, so then obviously again from just the top with the wings. There we go. So, once we clean this out, we'll then be using the Bloody Red. So I think once we've done the demon prints, guys, we're probably going to have time just to show off maybe how to do plasma glow, if I've got time. But it's getting on and I'm at work in the morning, so we'll probably go for another 15-20 minutes or so. See how far we can get. So again, a couple of drops of flow improver. And then we're going for bloody red. So once I've done this, I'm going to have to wait for the bloody red to dry a little bit. So does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any burning issues that they struggle with airbrushing? In fact, you know what? Yeah, sweaty hand, not nice, not pleasant. Another thing that you find as well is you tend to end up getting a blister on this finger here. Don't worry about it. Okay, right, let's get a fresh glove. I never did that, right? So then we're just going from the top down with the bright red. Exam time. Yep. So you'll see there that actually he's nearly black still underneath, but as you get round to the top, it's very, very bright red. And that's Zenithal highlighting. By doing this, what I'm essentially doing is, especially on the wing, you can see here, so this really big muscle here is really bright, as well as this one here. Now, when we wash it in a little while, and you highlight it back up, you highlight it back up by accentuating the raised areas. So we're going to have to let him dry before we move on to doing something else. Would you normally use a respirator or face mask when airbrushing? Also, would you recommend a spray booth? I don't, because this window is open here behind the curtains, so no. Really, yes, you should, because I will be snotting coloured snots later on tonight and in the morning. Would you use a spray booth? You can use a cardboard box. You could just literally do it into a cardboard box. I don't. I put the tissue down because it does catch a lot of my overspray. But also I don't mind if it does go on my desk. And because I'm quite tall, so I spray down a lot. Most of my overspray goes here, as you can see. Each to their own. You know, if you've got the money and the space to do it. I haven't got the space because if I set it up here, then Lucy can't get to the desk to paint. I can't get to my paints. I don't have the space for it, unfortunately. So let's have a look at that. It's only going to take a couple of minutes to dry that, actually. So let's have a look at what washes we've got. I feel like an Airbrush wash would probably work out better for him. That rain is horrendous. Do you think it helps speed up your painting by airbrushing? Depending on what you're painting, yes. It also looks vastly different as well, and it's a totally different technique. Seems like airbrushing would be nice for 60 plus Oryx assembly line style. If you do it the way that I've just done that, so if you have 10, for example, and just do all of your medium greens face on and top down, and then just do your top downs on your lighter green on 10 of them. For things like that, yes. For his skin, yes. But to then paint the rest of him, no. You've got to do it exactly as normal. You've got to paint the armour. You've got to paint the horns. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's a very different way of painting. It's good for some things. It's not for others. For Dryads, for example, I painted Lucy's Dryads. I think I painted 60 in a few hours. Had I actually painted them with a brush, that would have took me longer. But the effect that you get is vastly different to what it was if I'd actually sprayed it. If I'd actually brushed it. So, where's my paintbrushes at? Oh, there they are. I'm thinking of investing in one when student loan comes in. Got a load of horrors and bloodletters to do. Horrors and bloodletters it will be really good for, Nathan. If you don't forget, you've got to learn to do things differently. So if you sprayed them all a dark colour and then spray them face on your medium shade and then do your top down and then apply some wash, then yes, it would speed things like horrors and bloodletters up. The basic bog standard troops, it's okay for them to not look as great. For other things, like I said, for the demon prints, yes, for the skin it looks good, but it's not the be and end all. I would say it's an additional tool in your painting toolbox, but doesn't replace your other techniques. Absolutely, 100%. It's an additional tool. I've painted all my Blood Angels with brush, right? I could have airbrushed them, but I didn't. I've then gone back and done all of the exhausts and laser burn tips and everything with an airbrush. I've done all of my power swords with an airbrush, and I've done all of the lights and plasma glow with an airbrush. But everything else is brush. What else did I do? Me squigs. All of me squigs, in fact, 2 seconds. So this squig, I sprayed McCrag blue, then electric blue, then warpstone glow and moot green down the centre, right? I've then still had to go and paint all this metal, all the bone, all of the pink for his gums. I've had to paint the robes black, I'll have to paint the skin. I still have to do a lot of work on that model. But the effect that I've got on the squig is very, very different to what I get on everything else. I love the squig colours. Cheers, man. It's like Puckwood says, it is a tool in your box. It's not the be-all and end-all. So, what we're doing here is we are going to wash all of the red. I'm sure that compressor's leaking, you know. So all of the muscles and the agrax will sit right deep down in the recesses, and then when we come back in to highlight it, we will give it a very targeted highlight so that the raised muscular areas are the ones that get highlighted. So, I mean, don't forget, yes, it might seem quick, but you've got all your colour changes to do in between. So I used 3 reds there. And I'm still washing and going to dry brush after. I'm not dry brushing, sorry. I'm using some targeted highlighting with the airbrush as opposed to dry brushing. Again, it is just a very different technique. It's not better. It's not worse. It can be quicker. I would say on rank and file it's quicker. On individual models like this, it's not quicker. I probably could have painted his red faster than what I airbrushed the 3 colours. Love that effect you had. Think I'll definitely give it a go. Which one? The Zenithal highlighting, Nathan? That's a wave painting. You don't necessarily have to airbrush to achieve that. A lot of people do that with brushes. But it is a lot easier to do with an airbrush. Probably your bleed valve PTE tip. Step ahead of you, mate. And probably WD-40 on the piston part. Yeah. Thanks for your time, but I'm off to bed. No worries, man. Thanks for tuning in. Your nut on the hose might not be tight. With airbrush you can do sort of wet blending. Yeah. Ah, I found it. Unfortunately, I think I've got an issue. It's the nut on the top of the actual tank, which is not good. That probably, unfortunately, just comes down to it being old. But a new compressor is not what I want to have to pull out for right now. Not when I've just spent 200 quid for the car and I didn't even get paid from work this month. Anyway, I got to go as the train's nearly at where I'm getting off. No worries, man. Have fun. Is that my water? Yes. How do you not get paid for work? Because I used to work for SCS and I was interviewing for another job and I got offered the job. I took it. I put my notice in at work, but I had 2 jobs on that day. And then I got offered the second job, which was much more money and in the same direction that I wanted to be. But they couldn't start me until last Monday. And because I'd already put my notice in at work, I couldn't retract it. So I ended up having a month without work. So my last wages of £908 that I got at the end of September, I've got about 180 of them left to get me through till the end of the month. Anyway, Puckwidge, if you're still there, I'll show you what the problem is. And I think you will agree that the compressor is probably knackered. So it's not this bit, it's this bit. That is a massive, massive issue. I don't know how. Can you even fix that? I'm sure there's some form of sealant that I could probably get that will fix it. Good luck then. Yeah, probably I'd have a go at fixing. Yeah, I think, can't you get like nut weld or something, or chemical cement from like car dealerships? Good luck then. Cheers, Kyle. I have started a new job now, and it's more hours per week. I'm working 45 hours a week now instead of 37.5. So I'm basically working the equivalent of 6 days in 5. So I don't get home till 6 o'clock now. By the way, it's Steve. Right, cheers, Steve. But yeah, the other 2 bolts, I put the PPF tape on. Yeah, I can actually hear it leaking now. Yeah. So because I've still got the red in there, I'm not gonna clean it out. I'm actually gonna give it a quick blast so it doesn't clog up. But yeah, we're gonna be spraying him just a targeted highlight. To show how the Zenithal highlight will actually work. I need to play some Nintendo Switch tonight, I think. So yeah, I don't know what colour armour Nathan wants. I maybe should have asked him, shouldn't I? See if he fancies some good old-fashioned World Eaters armour. But you know what? I'm actually going to do some. I'll do some blood red highlights on there in case he does want red. And I think with the gold trim around there, it would actually look quite nice. Marty and I stripped his compressor as the cut-off switch failed. Not a quick job, but doable. Fair enough. So, whilst the Demon Prince is in the process of drying, does anybody have any burning questions about airbrushes, techniques, or cleaning them? I'm happy to answer any questions. So I'm just spraying some air onto there to try and help speed up, because I think I put a little bit much wash on. Have you used glazes and or varnishes? If so, what changes do you need to make? Through an airbrush, I haven't. So I really wouldn't know. Kyle, was the Stormcast Army you guys have airbrush for that pink? No, it was not. I don't have the paint here. It was... I have one of the two paints. So... It was this, which is Coat d'Arms Amethyst Purple, which is literally metallic purple. It's what the old GW used to be. It's based in that, and then the top down is Amethyst Alchemy by... I want to say scale 75. Simon Voyle, evening, waiting on your Death Leaper. He's up there, mate. He's up there. I showed him to Lucy the other day, and she was like, oh, it looks like a spider. I'm like, no, this is a spider. That's a spider. This spider is mostly airbrush work. Obviously, the horns that you see and the what do you call it? The eyes are not airbrush. Let's see it. Oh, Simon, man, it's up there. There you go. It's a big model, man. I mean, look, there's a Demon Prince. It's massive. But yeah, Kyle, that Amethyst Purple is from Coat d'Arms. I'm sure Amethyst Alchemy is scale 75. It's not painted shit. Mate, I've been at work. I had a very, very busy week at work last week. It was my first week back at work. What did I do? Monday I streamed. Tuesday I stayed at Lucy's. Went to the cinema. Wednesday, I don't know. Thursday, I can't remember. Friday night, I stayed at Lucy's late because it was our mum's birthday. We had takeaway, and then we went to see my mum. Thursday, I went to see my nana in the care home, and Friday, I went to see Lucy's mum for her birthday. Had a takeaway, then went to see my mum before she went away on holiday, and it was about 9 o'clock when we got in. So Saturday we chilled out. The car was at the garage on Saturday. That was it. So that was a nice stinger for 201 quid. Because I didn't have the car, didn't really do much. I had to walk up the shop. Took Lucy's scooter out for a drive. And I walked up with her to discover the post office was closed, which was frustrating. I then got the car back, and we basically just did bits and pieces of hobby on the night. Actually, I'll show you guys some stuff that Lucy did get finished. Not totally, but she's not far off from getting them finished. So, she did some work on Ark in the Black. But it's not just Ark in the Black. It's also Manfred. And it's also Neferata. And if that's not enough, the head is also magnetized. Because I'm stupid like that. The new job's going well. My boss is off on Friday and she's off all next week. And she's leaving me with the company fuel card and the company credit card, and I'm in charge of finances for the entire site. Yeah. How's my nana doing? Physically, she's okay. Mentally, she's not so good. But thank you very much for asking, Steve. So yeah, that's what Lucy worked on, along with 2 more gasts. No model buying. No! 2 more gasts. I haven't put the magnets in yet, but their hands will be magnetised as well. She's got a couple of bits to finish off, like the bits and pieces there, and she wants to redo them, so she'll probably finish them this week, but they're close to being done. And then I've got 2 more to build. Yay! But no model buying. Not till the end of this month, but I worked out I should get quite a hefty pay because I'll have worked for a month plus 4 days. On top of that, because I didn't work last month, I didn't use my tax-free allowance last month, which means I actually get it this month as well, which by my reckoning, I should have only paid £200 tax total when I get paid. I'd already paid over 300 with my previous job, so I should get that back as well. Right, here we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just lightly building up the colour on the raised muscle. Paint Death Leaper by the 20th of the month. I'm going to set you a challenge. Paint them by the 20th. It's the 4th. That gives me 16 days. Easy. Simon, are you on my Facebook? In fact, why am I accepting the challenge? What are you going to give me if I win this challenge? It's not really a challenge if I don't win, is it? No, don't use. Fair enough, man. Are you on Instagram at least? That might explain it. I won't give you any hassle, lol. Bit slow there, mate. What, me? Nah, Dave, I can paint him up in my Tyranid colour scheme very, very quickly. But I'm tempted to do him in Chameleon Shift in flip paint. I think that would be really, really cool. Make him look a bit like a xenomorph. No, don't do social media. You're on social media now. No excuse, Simon. No, I'll let you off, man. I'll tell you what, though, I will paint him up by the 20th of the month. I won't, however, get a chance to use him in a battle report before then, but the next time I use Tyranids, I will use him. I'll tell you what, right, if he's not... Obviously, I stream every Monday night, so if it's not finished 2 weeks today, that's my cut-off, right? 2 weeks today. Right, there we go, folks. I'm going to call it a night there because it's already like 11:15. So... does anyone have any burning issues or questions regarding airbrushing? Anything that anybody wants to know before I head off? Does anybody want to see any particular tutorials on the channel? What would you like to see more of? Or do you want to see less of? Do you want to see less of me? And just to finish off, I'm going to leave a little bit in there, just so I can give it a nice rinse out later on. More videos. I'm trying, mate. I'm really trying, believers. I'm really trying. Thanks for the lesson. I really appreciate it. Going to be getting an airbrush soon. The wife has hinted it. Kyle, if you've got any questions, drop me a message on social media, and obviously pop in every Monday when I'm streaming as well. For the guys that have tuned in whilst this video has been live, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. For the guys that are rewatching this on YouTube or Twitch, I hope it's been helpful for you. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitch and YouTube for live videos on a Monday. I'm normally only streaming to Twitch on a Monday. The purposes of streaming to both today, however, is to obviously upload this to YouTube as well. Simon wants a 12-hour video, painting video. Give us a sec. Let's have a look. This weekend's a no. Possibly one of the next 2 weekends. But payday weekend? No way. No way. Yeah, definitely not next week, but certainly one of the 2 weeks after that, I may try and go for a 12-hour shift and see what we can get painted out of the full list. Simon, you must have an email address at least. Do me a favour, drop me an email address. Drop me an email rather. It's thedarkartisan40k@gmail.com. I've got a couple of propositions to discuss with you if you fancy it. But that's it though, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, if you are watching us on Twitch, we are going to raid somebody. Who shall we raid? Let's raid the Hacksaw. Hacksaw plays Super Mario Bros. 3, right? He is racing it Games Done Quick in January, which is a fantastic event for people who... basically the live stream video games 24 hours a day for 7 days straight, and they raise money purely for one of them is Doctors Without Borders, the other one is the Prevent Cancer Foundation. So we will raid Hacksaw because he is practicing ready for that run that he's going to be doing in January. Everyone on YouTube, make sure you are following us on Twitch. Next Monday's stream will not be on YouTube. It will be Twitch only. But until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you again very soon.
shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be
3.
4 shalt thou not count, neither shalt thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3.
2, 3.